What's up everyone, this is my absolute Carnage build. I combined the Catalyst Mask, the Carnage LMG, Ongoing Directive gear set, and as long as you keep killing, we're talking non-stop ammo regen, bonus damage with bleed, and damage buffs for you and your teammates. And then whether you're running solo or in a squad, this thing's legit. For the core of this build, we're running a 4-piece Ongoing Directive. I've got the Catalyst Mask, a Cheska backpack, a Carnage LMG, the Bluescreen LMG, and I'm using 2 LMGs because the large magazines with both of these guns is great for this build, and I'll tell you why in the next section. I'm also using the Gunner Specialization with the Revive Hive and Assault Turret. Starting out with our Ongoing Directive, we want the chest, gloves, holster, and knee pads give us the 4-piece set. With that, we have 15% status effect boost, 30% reload speed, and then the 4-piece gives us rules of engagement, which shooting a status affected enemy will apply a mark. Killing a marked enemy grants a full clip of hollow point ammo for your active weapon and half a clip of the agent's active weapon to the rest of the party. This mark lasts for 10 seconds, and then the hollow point ammo amplifies weapon damage by 20% and applies bleed on hit. You want to get this with crit chance or crit damage. You want to stack crit chance between 50 and 60%, and then all the rest mods and attributes to be crit damage. And then we're going to run the chest for Ongoing Directive as well, because the Parabellum rounds increases hollow point ammo weapon damage amplification to 50%. It doesn't apply to the party members, but they'll still get the baseline 20%, and it just helps your damage output. The next piece you want is the Catalyst Mask. You can get this from the Brooklyn DLC, the Army Terminal Mission. It's a dedicated drop for the last boss. You want this mask for the talent Chemical Agent. It has 3 parts. The first part is Catalysis. Dealing and receiving status effects build stacks up to a maximum of 12. Each stack grants 2% weapon damage, 2% status effects. And then also each enemy within 25 meters is affected by a status effect grants 1 stack per second. Being affected yourself grants 2 per second, and then stacks decay at 1 stack per second after 5 seconds if no enemies in the radius or you are affected by status effects. This is a long way of saying that as long as you have status effects on you or you're shooting enemies with status effects, you're going to gain 2% weapon damage per stack, up to 24% total damage. The next is the Reactant. So at max stacks, killing a status affected enemy grants bonuses for 5 seconds, 25% bonus armor, 20% reload speed, and then last, the Stabilizer. While burning, you can maintain ADS without disruption. The Catalyst just synergizes well with Sadist, which can apply bleed, Bluescreen, which applies status effects, and Ongoing Directive's rules of engagement, which will give you hollow points, which will apply bleed, so also a status effect. The last piece of gear we want is the Cheska Viroba backpack. We want this because it gives us a bonus 8% crit hit chance for having one. You want to get the roles and attributes to be crit hit damage, crit chance, and the talent of Wicked. So when you're farming, just look for 2 of the 3 and then recalibrate. The bigger part of this is Wicked. Applying a status effect increases total weapon damage by 18%. And this just synergizes with the bleed from the Sadist, with the Catalyst status effect boost, and then also the Ongoing Directive hollow points and its damage boost. The primary weapon you want to use is the Carnage. It comes with perfect Sadist, amplifies weapon damage by 35% to bleeding enemies. After 3 kills, applies bleed to the next enemy you hit. So this starts once you've killed 3 enemies and you apply the bleed to the next. This triggers rules of engagement from Ongoing Directive, and then once you kill that enemy, you'll have hollow points. And from that point on, you'll constantly be doing 35% to bleeding enemies. So as long as you still have your hollow points, that's what you want to use. I went through and tried a bunch of different attachments. I found this best to use the Rugged Mini Reflex for the crit chance, non-disruptive link for crit damage, but the angled grip for stability was big. I could do more crit damage and crit chance on there, but I found the stability makes it so I hit more shots and overall do more damage. And lastly, the Flash Hider for crit hit damage. You also want to roll this with the third attribute of crit hit damage or crit hit chance. You want to hit between 50 and 60% crit chance and then stack as much crit damage as you can. The next weapon I use is the Bluescreen. I use this mainly because of the Disruptor rounds talent. So shooting an enemy marks that enemy and adds a stack to the agent up to a count of 50. Shooting a marked enemy refreshes the mark and adds stacks to the agent. When you deploy a non-shield skill, remove all stacks on an agent and all marked targets trigger an effect. So as you can see, stacks 1 through 10, pulse marked targets, 11 through 25, pulse and disrupt, 26 through 49, pulse disrupt, disorient marked targets, and 50 is pulse disrupt and disorient marked targets and all hostiles within 10 meters. You can use this combined with your revive hive to shoot an enemy, drop the hive, pulse them, shoot again. That starts your ongoing directive, and I'll show you how to do this in a later section. I have a couple other reasons here that I'm using the Bluescreen. One, its handling between the spread, the recoil, and reload speed. It's a little easier to manage than Carnage, especially if you don't have the right attachments on the Carnage. So if you're struggling hitting your shots with Carnage, it's not going to matter how much damage you can output. You'll end up doing more damage with Bluescreen if it's easier to hit. It also carries 200 rounds as opposed to 100, so you get more sustained fire, but more importantly, more hollow points once you've triggered the rules of engagement talent from Ongoing Directive, and it's a lot quicker to fill your magazines when, and I'll show you that with the tips later. Lastly, I'm running the Revive Hive for two reasons. One, for self-revive if you go down. As we're running all reds, it's a little squishier of a build, so that'll be there clutch if you need it. And then also it's ease of use. You can drop it really quickly and pick it up whenever you need to trigger the Bluescreen's status effects to trigger your ongoing directive rules of engagement. I'm also running the assault turret. You can run a striker drone here as well, but basically just have something to pull aggro away from you so the enemies will go after the turret or drone. And then I'm also running the gunner specialization for the 10% boost to armor on kill. Here's quick tips on how to fill your weapons with hollow points. Here's an example using your Bluescreen to fill the mag with hollow points. You can see I shoot the first guy to build some stacks. I drop my hive, which starts status effects, and then shoot the affected enemies to trigger rules of engagement, and then fill the gun with hollow points. Now here's the same location, but I'll use the Bluescreen to fill the Carnage ammo with hollow points. The process is similar in that you shoot an enemy, build stacks, drop the hive, but then switch from the Bluescreen to the Carnage to fill it with hollow points on kill. And that's all for my absolute Carnage build. If you enjoyed this build, hit that like button, subscribe for more Division 2 builds, and drop a comment if you've tried a build like this before. I'm continuing my search for the best Division 2 has to offer.